Thank you, Amit. So I'm going to speaking to you about the femto laser in management of astigmatism. Uh, the femtosecond lasers can be used to correct astigmatism, corneal astigmatism, by method of astigmatic keratotomy, which is done by the femtosecond laser. Also, one can correct astigmatism by doing conventional LASIK surgery and by SMILE, and femtosecond laser also can correct astigmatism in cases of keratoconus by the use of by making the channels for the intacs when corneal ring segments are implanted. If we see femtosecond laser is basically 1056 nanometer infrared laser, which is neodymium glass diode. Energy per pulse is 300 milliwatt per millimeter square. The pulse duration is 10 raised to the power minus 15 seconds. The mechanism of action is photodisruption and the spot size is 3 microns. Now, so it can be combined with the femtosecond laser assisted cataract surgery, that is flex, or it can be done in cases of keratoplasty when you correct astigmatism, or it can be also done for the correction of high astigmatism. Now, femtosecond laser assisted cataract surgery the femtosecond can help to make the astigmatic keratotomy incisions, and it allows correction of astigmatism at the time of the cataract surgery and allows good control of depth, location, length, and angle of the incision, and that is done by the anterior segment OCT because it is live and available with the femto cataract surgery. The indications are corrections of minus 0.5 to 3 diopters of regular astigmatism, although people have corrected up to 7 diopters in some studies. The contraindications are peripheral corneal disease like Tyrrell's marginal degeneration, corneal opacity, ocular surface disease, subclinical or clinical ectasia, and in thin corneas less than 480 microns. And this may be used with monofocal, and more commonly it is used with the premium IOLs or multifocal intraocular lenses. If you see the parameters, parameters are depending. You have a variable incision zone, and the optic zone may be chosen, which varies from 11 to 8 millimeters, and there could be paired arcuate keratotomies, especially if your incision is away from the main wound, that is the temporal incision in this case, and then you can have two paired arcuate keratotomies. But sometimes if your arcuate keratotomy is overlapping with the main wound, then the length of the arcuate keratotomy can be increased and only a single arcuate keratotomy can be done to increase the effect. But it is the point to be noted is that there should be a distance of at least 10 degrees between the phaco incision as well as the arcuate keratotomy. Now, most of the normograms have been modified Lindstrom or Donenfeld or Nischemann normograms, which are used, which come with the machine itself. And currently, there is no validated nomogram or single accepted nomogram, and most of the machines, they have their own nomograms in the system, which is given by the manufacturers. And apart from this, you have to make modifications for the age, that is 1 degree reduction in arc length after 50 years of age, and optical zone can also be modified as necessary. Now, again, important thing to understand is that here you have higher energy settings with the closer spacing of the laser spots. That is energy setting of 1.5 to 1.8 microjoules is used as opposed to a LASIK flap, which is much lower, 0.85. And again, the spot separation is of 3 microns with a line separation of 3 microns. Again, this separation is much less because when you are doing a laser procedure to decrease the corneal astigmatism, you do not want any tissue bridges which are there in between. The depth is set at default of 80% of the corneal thickness, and they can be intrastomal or surface incisions. And some people, they open up these incisions in the post-operative period depending on the amount of the residual refractive error that is there. But we like to intraoperatively open the incisions that have been made. Again, the angulation of the cut, it varies for greater effect. 90 degrees cut as well as 30 degrees cut, both have been tried. And the Bowman and the Descemet membrane sparing cuts are given under live OCT visualization. Because of the advantage of the intrastomal cut is, as opposed to the surface cut, is that there is less risk of infection, wound gape, epithelial ingrowth, or perforation compared to the penetrating arcuate keratotomy cuts. Now, minimal data as such is available about the predictability and regression of astigmatism after femto-assisted arcuate keratotomy in cataract surgery. And there are no published studies to compare the toric IOL versus the femto-assisted arcuate keratotomy currently, although there are few registered clinical trials. And again, no separate proven normograms for femtosecond assisted arcuate keratotomy are currently available. Then following keratoplasty as well, femtosecond laser can be used to treat astigmatism and the correction of the non-orthogonal astigmatism or irregular astigmatism by asymmetric placement of the arcuate keratotomy incision can be done in this case. In these cases, and also it is useful to create flaps for patients undergoing a two-step photoablative surgery, something which was described even in those cases where femtosecond was not used to create the flaps, where in stage 1 you just lift the flap and see how much of residual correction of the astigmatism occurs, and 6 weeks later you lift the flap, and if there is any residual astigmatic correction that is there, then that can be dealt with by the ablation. Now, following in cases of post-keratoplasty astigmatism, these are the arcuate keratotomies that you see, and this is done under topical anesthesia. It is important to mark the graft edge with a Genesian wallet marking pen because you may not see the graft host junction underneath the femtosecond, the ring, the suction ring, and the site of the arcuate incision should also be marked with the GV paint. Then it is important to do the pachymetry at the marked incision site, and the suction ring is applied followed by interface contact, which can be gently manipulated to avoid the inadvertent rotation of the eye while docking, and in these cases the rotation does occur, and that is why you have to mark the arcuate keratotomy with a Genesian wallet. The graft host junction does act as a new limbus here, and the incisions are commonly placed 1 to 1.5 millimeters inside the graft host junction. The common protocol is that you take 90 degrees arc length, 90 degrees depth, and 90 microns beneath the epithelium. And the Hana's protocol is followed, that is 75% depth of the central corneal thickness is used, and the machine parameters are similar to as was previously described. Now, preoperatively, topography you have to do to assess the keratometry and the refraction, and the steeper semimeridians are identified, and correction in the meridians of irregular astigmatism is done, and again ASOCT based depth determinations can be done within the graft host junction. There are normograms specially for this, such as this, which is available online, which depends on the amount of the optical zone that is there, and the degree of the paired arcs, the depth at which they should be done, and the angulation in degrees. If you see the various studies in literature, all of them are anecdotal case reports or case series, and in most of the cases where this was done, the mean keratometric value has decreased to less than 4 diopters post-operatively. And there's only one randomized control trial of femtosecond assisted arcuate keratotomy versus manual arcuate keratotomy, where axis alignment was found to be better with femtosecond assisted arcuate keratotomy. And the mean pre-op refractive cylinder was 8.6 and 6.7, which decreased to 3.9 and 4.7 respectively, and there was no difference in terms of the amount of cylinder that decreased in both the groups. There can be problems also with this, such as microperforations 2.5 to 4%, macroperforations, which is very rare. Then epithelial ingrowth can occur in the wound, but this can occur even with those which are not done with the femtosecond laser. And the regression is something which is expected and which needs to be evaluated over a period of time. Then you can also, to correct astigmatism, do SMILE, which is the use of femtosecond laser and a machine which does both. And I'm sure Praveen has a lot of experience with this, which can be done either as a flex procedure or as a SMILE procedure. And this was the study again in which they have compared SMILE and flex for astigmatism and found similar results with both of them. And this was another study to compare predictability, contrast sensitivity, and aberrations after SMILE and flex, and found similar results. And the complications of SMILE are of course well known, and just as routinely you would have complications during SMILE with correction of myopia, similarly you can have even with astigmatism. A word about the use of femtosecond laser for creating the channels for the intrastromal ring segments. Femtosecond does increase the accuracy for the depth and the size of the tunnel, and then the Intacs Kera ring or the Ferrara rings can be used, and there are nomograms. Again, these nomograms are same which we use for doing it manually. There are no specific nomograms for femtosecond guided creation of channels, and this was again a study which compared mechanical channelization versus femtosecond laser assisted channelization, and found that there was the uncorrected visual acuity and the best spectacle corrected visual acuity both improved with both the groups, and for primary spherical aberration, coma and other higher order aberrations were favored the femtosecond group. But to conclude, we do need to study, to have long-term studies and to evaluate especially the regression effect, and to create separate nomograms for the femtosecond guided procedures as opposed to the mechanical procedures. Thank you for your attention.